Hi, and welcome to the I Teed Myself podcast. My name is Matthew Miniman, and this is episode 99. What can oddly specific signs teach us about change management? So, I don't know if you guys have ever bought a chainsaw, or a stroller, or sleeping pills, or rat poison, or anything like that. But all of these things in common, they have warning signs. Like, obviously, some of them have more confident warning signs than others, like rat poison. Rat poison tells you that it's a poison. It may kill you. But some products have some very weird warning signs that are listed in there, such as a microwave. The microwave I have in my house has a warning sign that says, or warning label that says, do not put creatures or animals in this microwave. And yeah, well, kind of no shit. Kind of kills them. It kills people, Carl. It kills people. Also, on a chainsaw, it says, do not touch chain while in operation. Yeah, no shit. That's something you didn't have to tell me. That's blatant. What about, a stroller? Do not fold while baby is present. Okay, yeah. It's kind of obvious. So why do they have these on there? I mean, sleeping pills have a warning sign that says may cause drowsiness. I fucking hope so. A paintball gun will have one that says do not point at face. I think regular firearms have warning labels that say do not point at others. Shit like that. This is an interesting problem. And some of these warning signs, you have to wonder, how did they get there? Why are these warning signs in place? Like, what prompted the manufacturer to spend the money, time, and effort to put these warning labels, warning signs on their products? Some of them, conceivably could cause you to not purchase the product, such as the stroller. Don't fold while baby is inside. Is this going to mangle my child? What's going on here? You have an entire subset of warning labels. I mean, every fucking product that you purchase has just an ungodly amount of warning labels on it. And why are there so many? Why are there even more? You have to kind of wonder. Well, some of them are required by law because, you do need to warn everybody about everything that could potentially go wrong with your product. And most of that's not in the manual or user guide or whatever. And there are, specific warning signs. Like in my car, I have a tipping warning sign on my rear view mirror, not my rear view mirror, my whatever the fuck that thing is, little sunshade thing. Yeah. The sunshade. It says warning, car can tip if turned at too great an angle or something like that. And it's a very weird sign. And like there's a ton of warning signs like that everywhere. Just weird signs for places. I have a warning sign on the bottom of my children's plastic chairs that say do not light on fire, is flammable. Which is a weird thing for a chair to be flammable. But okay. So why are there these warning signs? Why are they there? And some of them you have to wonder, well, okay, yes, of course, you do have to include some of those by law. All right. Yeah, we've covered that now. Some of them might be required by OSHA for the product to be used in a workplace. And MSDS signs have to be put out in where chemicals exist and where chemicals might be found and or an emergency might occur with a specific chemical. And MSDS will tell you, at least the color code sign will tell you exactly how to respond in case of a spillage or leakage or what the dangers are of that particular chemical. And, some of those are required in order for operations to occur with your company or with an organization. And some of them are required for operation of the device. One of the many things that I ran through in OSHA when I was running A warehouse was does all of your equipment have properly displayed warning labels for the operation of that unit? And yes, no, it's a pain in the ass to do. And you using that, you can knowing that, you can understand why a lot of warning labels exist, because they're just trying to cover their ass. Well, and some of those warning labels exist because people are fucking dumb. And you know that. Yeah, you can tell that. I didn't realize the sleeping medicines that I bought, the sleeping pill that I bought for sleep would make me drowsy, would make me sleepy. And yeah, you have people who are idiots or willful idiots attempting to cause damage to themselves to get a big payout from somebody. So organizations feel like they have to protect themselves by putting warning labels in their or on their products. So, what does this have to do with change management? Well, change management is a concept that before you make a change in IT or in your organization or really anywhere, you do some sort of review of that change. And in a proper change management system, the way that you are doing this is you have a committee of folk who are responsible for approving or denying the change before it is implemented. And so you have to gather details about the change, such as what are you looking to do? What are you looking to accomplish? Some change management approaches will require you to list the potential risks of the change, how you plan to back out of the change, how you plan to restore, what kind of support you're going to have for the change management system. And you can go above and beyond in your change management platform. The issue with a lot of change management systems is that they are crafted in response to the dumbest fucking people on the planet. So one of the problems about change management is that it can actually inhibit you from making progress within your environment. And I'm going to use the military here as an example. Not that it's a bad thing to do this, but holy fuck, this is possibly the worst example I've heard of. So I have a buddy who runs the Citrix operation for a particular branch of the United States military, and it's not even a branch. It's a specific service within this branch of the military, and he was the administrator of their Citrix environment. And if you've ever used Citrix, if you've ever heard me complain about Citrix, one of the things that you'll know is that they have an ungodly number of patches that need to be applied to their stuff because it's an extremely vulnerable product. So much so that there are often critical vulnerabilities across their product quite frequently. I mean, we've already had 6 this year, and we're nowhere near done. So my friend, he is operating and administering the Citrix environment, and he gets a critical update notification from Citrix, and he fills out his change management request form. And this critical update there are specific fixes in this to resolve unauthenticated access into the environment. Well, because of the change management process of this particular branch or this particular service within this particular branch of the military, they are required to have this change management process go through an approval process. And he tells me it takes him 6 months to get one of these critical updates approved, which is egregious. This is a critical update, probably needs to be implemented sooner rather than later. And holy shit, if you have to go through a 6-month review process for a single update, there's something wrong. Holy fuck. And that's what you want to avoid. That's the kind of change management system you want to avoid, where you're actively inhibiting the progress of your update process. Because by the time you've approved the change management or that update, you are behind. You are now 6 or 7 other updates behind that you now have to push. On top of that, you are preventing people who would otherwise do that job from doing that job. So for instance, if you have an administrator who is like, oh, well, I could push this update, but before I do, I have to ask and draft this document and I have to do so much work. And you know what? I'm just going to put the mitigation in place. Fuck it. The mitigation is much less disruptive to my environment and I don't have to do all that extra work. And so they do that, and your environment ends up being less secure as a portion of that. And so these are active steps that you have taken to prevent people from doing their job. And specific examples of this are things like when you have a change management platform and you have the process, how quick is it for somebody to submit a change management request? How quickly can they submit it? Is it something where they can say, I'm going to do this? Can I do it? Is it something where they have to fill out a 10-page dissertation on what the update is for and how they're going to rescue the environment in case it goes bad? What does that look like? Do you have any sort of preparation before you allow somebody to make a change management platform? Things like that. There are a lot of questions that you can put in the way of change management or in the way of a change to make sure that, your change management goes off without a hitch. But here's the problem is that you can plan for every instance. You can have that person, you can plan for the person who's going to stick their hand on the chain of the chainsaw while it's running, but you can't plan for the dude who's going to let the chainsaw dangle from his belt live. Can you plan for that? I don't know. Is that something you can plan for? Is it something you could conceive of? Could somebody actually be that dumb? And the problem is you can't know every possibility, every possible outcome, every potential risk that somebody's going to take with your changes in order for you to plan around them. So, what are the best ways to implement? What are some of the better ways to implement a change management platform? Well, there are some key aspects of your change management platform that you should implement. And one of those is my change management platform should be quick and easy to implement. So my change management platform should not be a barrier for progress, and people should not view it as that. And so your change management should simply be something that records the change in what is occurring and identifies those who should respond should there be an issue. So that's one of the better ways to do a change management platform. Another way to implement a good change management platform is to have a test environment that is a duplicate of your production environment that you can run your changes against first, and then document anything that might need to be done, any adjustments that might need to be made before the change is implemented. The problem with that middle piece is that not everybody has an ungodly amount of money to have a second environment to test with. So that makes that a whole lot harder to achieve. So skipping that requirement, some of the other things you can do are, when you're implementing a change management, have vendor support on call. Make sure you're doing whatever it is for your organization with somebody who knows the product on the line with you, so that in case of some issue, you have somebody there. I specifically had to perform updates with VMware on the phone for an ESXi environment because how frequently the ESXi updates would break the ESXi environment. And so because support refused to help us understand why they would break the updates, we basically forced them to walk through us with every update we did. It's a pain in the ass. And I did not like doing VMware updates because I always had to do them after hours, and it took me 4 hours to get them done. But whatever, I had the support on there, and I never had an outage because of that. So there are specific things that you can program, that you can implement in your change management platform that do not present a barrier. What you do not want to do is you do not want to have a barrier in place that will prevent work from being done where it would otherwise just flow through. I've managed dozens, maybe hundreds of organizations at this point. And one of the things that I have not ever seen is I have not ever seen an update or a change require the level of detail and granularity as some change management platforms have. And that might just be because I'm lucky, and it might be just because I know what I'm doing. But that is also kind of another key point about your change management platform. You should only have the people making the change who can actively make the change and know what they're doing. Do not have somebody who's providing or pushing an update to a server who has no idea how to operate that server, who has no experience in server architecture or instruction. Don't do that, because that's how you get into a bad time. Never allow somebody who has never touched a VMware environment to do an ES6i update. Just don't do that. Make sure that they have some experience. Make sure that they've done updates before. Make sure that they've walked through them before with somebody else. And, that's also one of the problems, is that a lot of organizations run into these problems with change management because they're using unqualified people to do jobs. Now, some of that is because people lie in their interviews. Other parts of it is it's hard to source good talent. And other parts of it are we want to train the talent up through our organization. Well, doing that is good, but if your organization requires or depends on a particular function, maybe don't have the guy you're training on how to do that perform the function by himself. Maybe have that person perform it with another person while they're doing it, because the other person should know what they're doing, and you have to make sure of that. So these are all different things that you can do to help with your change management platform. Again, one of the most common problems with change management or the implementation of change management is that people are using unqualified individuals to perform updates or changes, and that is causing issues down the road. So if you're not part of a large shop and your change management platform doesn't really exist, but you want one, some of your change management should be, if you're a jack of all trades and you're doing all of your stuff yourself, but you want to implement a change management platform, so for whatever reason, or you have a small team that you want to implement a change management platform for, and you guys have an all jack of all trades sort of approach to your IT environment, which a lot of you do, which a lot of us do, some key aspects of your change management platform should be to make sure that the person who is pushing the update knows what they're doing. And if they don't, make sure that they have the ability to either get support or get help for when that change causes an issue. Because at some point, a change will cause a problem, and it will be something that needs to be reviewed and tested for. The other thing that you don't want to have happen with your change management platform is you don't want to have your post-change testing take longer than the entirety of the rest of the change management process. One of the previous examples that I've had to work through with, or one of the previous circumstances that I had to work through with change management, is I had an organization that had a payment processing server on site. And this payment processing server was extremely sensitive because it was originally written in the 90s and still had that basic COBOL data set in there. And they had a developer specifically for their payment processor right there. Well, any update that occurred, there was required to be a full test of every type of card to every type of downstream payment processor, to every conceivable purchase type. And so the post change testing process required us to test Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, gift cards, cash, check, pay by phone, tap to pay, Bitcoin. It was an entirely painful testing process. And part of that is because the guy who developed the system couldn't depend on his own code. But also, it was because previously only specific things would fail, and they would fail hard. And so it was a massive pain in the ass to test all of these functions. And of course, nobody thought to do any sort of error checking in the update process to make sure that the testing was unnecessary. So anyway, ultimately, the whole point of this is that these oddly specific signs are created because somebody somewhere did something fucking stupid. Your coffee mug says caution coffee, hot beverage inside. Your gasoline, your gas tank that you use to put gas in your mower, that says caution flammable liquid inside. Your bicycle chain says caution maybe lubricated. It says these things because at some point somebody has done something stupid enough to require that warning sign to be put into place, and the company really is just covering their ass in case more stupidity occurs. Is it necessary? No. Is it doing its job? Not really. Is it funny? Sometimes. Is it aggravating? Fuck yes. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys have a great day.